Distinct privilege of bringing you the extraordinary story of a Bahamian woman reaching the highest office in our land. Her journey to Governor General began on a path of humble beginnings that eventually led to the halls of Parliament. There, she accomplished numerous firsts for women with impressive political prowess, complemented by a passion and love for people, earning her the distinction as a mother of mothers. Over the next hour, we get an exclusive glimpse into the life, leadership, and insights of this prominent figure in our nation's history, and how her new role transcends political boundaries, embodying the unity and diversity of our great nation. Throughout our captivating discussion, we'll delve into our remarkable achievements, exploring the pivotal moments that shaped her path to leadership and the principles that have guided every step of the way. RTV presents Cynthia Pratt, our most famous mother becomes Governor General. This is the first time I get to say this, Your Excellency. As of September 1st, you became Governor General, the only third woman to hold the post. This remarkable accomplishment stands as a testament to your illustrious political journey, inspiring numerous women throughout the nation, especially those in the realm of politics. And now, you find a foundation in your achievements. Could you share with us the emotions you experienced when you were initially approached about taking this high office?
Well, humbled, Dion. I don't know if I was surprised. It is because I've always had a desire to serve my people. It didn't have to be in this position, but in any position where would be an impact in the lives of the people. I don't want to belong just to belong. I want to make a difference. And so when I learned about it, it was, I thought for a moment, Lord, why me? Because I'm sure there are so many others who would have liked to be considered. But I know that God had a plan for my life, one that is to reach out, particularly to the masses, those in the inner city in particular. That's where my heart is. That's where I live. And so I believe that I know the pulse of the people. I think I do. And so thinking about it, I gave God thanks. And my life, I wanted to be a testament for the masses so that they would know there is hope. There is hope. Because knowing that all my life, I've lived in the inner city all my life. And so, I've been criticized for it, but it didn't matter to me because I knew that I was on a mission. I don't know what the mission was, but I wanted to stay among the people so that they would feel that there is hope. I can talk to her anytime. I can ask her advice at any time. And knowing that I've dealt with families, husband, wives, when they're going through changes, young men who are striving to become something in life, wanting my advice. These things, they wanted me to be there for them, even from high school, because many of them I taught in high school. And nobody had given them a chance. But they're now young Bahamians who's contributing to our country.
We're going to use this program to really take people on that journey.
Yes.
Parts of it, I know that people know, and then there are other parts that they don't know. Can you tell us what was involved into into the confirmation of this position? Give us a little glimpse into what really was involved in you becoming Governor General.
Well, I think people have watched my life over the many years, Jerome. I can't say exactly what was involved, but I can say that many Bahamians appreciated my efforts. Some people fought for me in many cases in the political arena. I think it probably is a carryover for them because they knew me from all the way back then, even before I entered the political arena. And the fact that I would go into the highways and byways and try to talk to so many of them and encourage them. But when it happened, I was trying to choke back the tears, really, because I started to think about where do we go from here? What is expected of me? How can I make a difference? What is it I want to do in order to help my people? All of these things going through my head. And of course, people are giving me ideas and they're talking to me and encouraging me, and the love that has been displayed.
I want to ask about the support. Yes. I know from my own personal experiences, people on all sides of the divide, no matter who they are, all Bahamians are rejoicing in this appointment. People who have been political opponents have come out and said how happy and proud that they are. What is it that you think has really engendered that pride in people in hearing that you have now ascended to this office?
I think a lot has to do with my humility. Also because my life is centered around people who they believe if you're wasting your time, there's nothing can any good thing come out of Nazareth, that kind of thing. And so I think because I've come through our high schools, and our high schools were in the area of what we term the inner city. And so many Bahamians, God has given me an opportunity to assist while they were in school, before they became adults. And so they have a story to tell about what I've done for them that I've forgotten. And so I believe because I have been involved with athletics, then I went into nursing, and then teaching. I've been in the community. I've been among the poor and the rejects, and I'm comfortable with it, because I want to see the best. And so I'm told that they were celebrating in Miami, they were celebrating in Baltimore, and where Bahamians are.
Yes.
And so they're not even here.
And celebrating. You touched on a bit of your public life, athletics, nursing, teaching, and you have been in the public in many ways through your work for a long time, and earned the name Mother. So I'm curious as to how did you get that title of Mother Pratt? Where did that come from?
It's amazing. I've been asked that question so many times, Jerome. But it actually started in Belize, Central America, not here. We were representing the country in a softball game. We went to Belize, and I was a part of the team. And there was a young girl she was only 14 years old. Excellent player, that young even to make the team. But she had an attitude problem. And so the other girls couldn't seem to reach her. And they called me and said they'll need me to talk to this young girl. And of course, I did, and I threatened her, Jerome. And I told her if she
That's the bottom of the price.
yes,
Some people
yes.
don't know.
And she said, well, you must be my mother. I said, I'm the mother, and there's no other. Those were my words. When I returned home, this is only among a few Bahamians. When I got home, because I was teaching then, my students started to call me mother. Of course, I was living by that time. And I say, I'm Mrs. Pratt, I am not mother. I'm angry. And the thing about it, I had realized that it had gone out into the community, into the country, and I couldn't control it any longer. And so now my eyes have opened. It had nothing to do with the team. It was about a nation. God was preparing me for a nation.
At what point in your life did you realize that your life was becoming more than you even envisioned? At what point did you realize that the work of helping people was now your life's work? At what point did that really start to set in?
I think because so many people were coming to me for different matters, problems, and they felt I had answers. And if I didn't have answers, I can find a way out for them. And with our people, once you have one, they'll tell somebody else where you can get help, and they would come. And I think because I didn't turn them away, I took time with them, and many of them were able to assist their families based on what I did that I have forgotten. And I think that had a lot to do with it, because people will continue, even now that I'm retired from politics, they're still coming, and I'm trying to tell them I'm retired, but they look at me as though something is wrong with me.
You got to be able to help.
Yes.
You are taking on the role of Governor General, which can be very demanding. I'm curious, have you gotten any advice from any of your predecessors, or any advice you may received, or something that someone has told you about the office to prepare you?
Well, certainly, I have to learn. To learn what is protocol, what the do's are, what the don'ts are. And so many have called, congratulated me, and advised me on many things to be expected, and the task that comes with the office. And so I'm up for it. I'm excited about it now, because it's nothing new. That's the thing, Jerome. It's nothing new. And so I've been there before. So there's very little for me to even be concerned about, because it's just...
You have served in the role of deputy on previous occasions.
Yes.
From the ceremonial duties that symbolize our country's history to the behind-the-scenes responsibilities that contribute to its progress, our conversation with Her Excellency uncovers her multifaceted nature. And when we come back, we unravel the experiences, values, and perspectives that have driven her service to our nation, and how the outward embrace of her walk with Christ sparked criticism, but would not penetrate her immovable Christian faith. On September 1st, Her Excellency Cynthia Pratt became the 13th Governor General in an independent Bahamas, and only the third woman to ascend to the high office. Her story is one that has captivated Bahamians across all political and social divides for decades. Her humble beginnings, easy for many of us to relate to. And somehow, even with all of her accomplishments, has never lost touch with the people she continues to serve. Testament to her innate nurturing spirit that comes through when and whenever she shows up. These behind-the-scenes moments from our interview give us a glimpse into her delicate touch that has no doubt kept her connected to the people. We got a deeper understanding of the person behind the role, but also a profound reflection on the essence of leadership itself. Your Excellency, many women still find themselves in a position where they cannot achieve many of their dreams simply trying to survive day to day. That's a reality for many women, just surviving. What was it that helped you to achieve all the things that you've done?
Well, believing that I made a difference, that's the first thing. And if I'm making a difference, I have to continue to go on, because there are many out there who's depending on me. And so as a woman, you know, your mother, you're everything. They think that mothers have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes my children have to remind me that, Mommy, we're your children, you know, and, because I'm always paying attention to somebody else's child. To a point where I had 6 little children living in my house with my children. And my husband at that time had to step in, and he said, Cynthia, not another one. Not another. So I said, well, I must have gone too far.
Right.
But the thing is, Jerome, I'm a fighter. I'm one who believes if you tell me I can't do something, I'll prove you wrong. I won't answer, but I'll prove you wrong. If you say you can't achieve here, I will prove to you that I can.
I want to really use that to springboard to our next question. When you were first asked to run for office,
yes,
did you envision a ministerial post back then?
Oh, absolutely not.
What did you think would happen?
Absolutely. I didn't even want to go in to politics, number one, because I had no knowledge about anything when it came to public life. I was just living my life to please others. But when I got there, I started to see the needs of the people. And I knew that if God had placed me here, I must do what I must do in order to help others get to the next level in their lives. And many times it was only about a phone call. Sometimes it's just when you're writing a little reference for somebody. Those are the kinds of things that people continue to
Little
come.
things.
The little things, then you started to grow and understand this is what life is all about.
You entered politics, you were elected, you received a cabinet appointment, even becoming the country's first female deputy prime minister. Even at one point, you acted as prime minister while then Prime Minister Perry Christie was ill. As the saying goes, did you see that in the cards for you at any
Not
point?
at all. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All I was interested in doing is serving. Mm-hmm. There are many things, Jerome, I did not know. So those of us who are in leadership, we don't know everything, but we must listen to our people, and they're the one who guides us a lot of times. But if we are willing to listen, but there's some who, if they notice you don't want to hear me, they don't say anything, and you find yourself getting into problems. And so I am one who believes that my constituents, they would know more about the area than me. And so let me ask them, what would you advise me to do here or there? And so when we got together, we were able to accomplish much for the entire community. And so that is what was important to me, that we got results.
Even in office, in positions of, you're talking about at one point national security, deputy prime minister, you listened.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And if I did not know, I even asked the opponent, because they were there before me. They knew more of that particular role than I do. I was not too big to ask. Jerome knows more about media. Let me call him and ask him, what can I do in this case? And they would answer, because they're surprised that I called. But it's all about getting it right.
I know that in previous interviews you told me during the period that when Mr. Christie, then Prime Minister, was out sick, a former Prime Minister, Hubert Ingram, was
Yes,
your advisor in some instances.
absolutely. I called him and asked him for advice on certain things. I called Eileen Karen and asked her advice on certain things, and they guided me as to what they thought was the best thing for the Bahamian people. And I appreciate that today because it only caused me to grow, caused the people to appreciate my efforts, but it wasn't just me. It was people who were behind me and wanting to see me achieve. They didn't want me to fail. And so that is most important because, Jerome, sometimes as leaders, we believe that we have it all together. That's not always the case. And so when things are pressures put on you to do certain things, sometimes you don't know what to do. So you need advice. And I'm not a mechanic. So if there's something to do with a car, I'm going to ask a mechanic.
Seems logical.
That's right.
You have really been able to achieve some extraordinary things in your time in public life. What do you remember, though, about when that decision was made for you to become Deputy Prime Minister? This now was going to be a first for the country.
Well, of course, this was unexpected, certainly because we didn't know where sickness was, and he got ill unannounced, and so it was his call to determine who he wanted.
This is when Mr. Christie, when you became acting Prime Minister.
Absolutely. And so therefore, I don't have anybody to hide behind. I'm out there and I have to get it right. And so certainly I was willing to talk to people I know who knows about the growth and development of this country and who wants to see it advance even further.
What was it like sitting at a cabinet table, predominantly men, and you now having to lead the country and lead the charge at that time?
Well, they were very supportive of me, I must say, very supportive. I'll never forget the day when I was supposed to present the budget. And they were all, you can tell they were panicking whether I can do it and whether I can remember Neville Wisdom, Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture. He said, "Mother, now you sure you wanted to practice? Just practice." I said, I'm fine. So he wanted me to go over the notes and so you practice. I said, I'll be fine. And I had no fear. But I know their concern, and I appreciated that. And so I'm just showing you how supportive they were of me. And so anything I made an attempt to do, they would support me. And so we were a team. And so I think that is the reason why I was successful in certain things.
You got a lot of support from the wider public, and I've said it earlier, and it goes across party lines, it goes across so many things. And clearly there's an admiration, but how much of that do you think is just respect for who you are and the positions that you've taken?
I think, well, I would say both, okay? You'd find that Bahamians do not forget easily when you've done something good for them, as well as you didn't do anything for them. And I think they appreciated my efforts, because even if I didn't get it done for them, I returned to them to say, this didn't happen, I'll try again. And so they appreciated that, because there were times, Jerome, when people would call me and they couldn't reach me. And when I got the message, I would call them. Some I would call at midnight. And they'd say, you called me tonight, Mother? I said, yes, but you called me. Said, but it's so late and you still call? I said, yes, because you called. So I think the mere fact that I remember them in spite of made a difference in their lives. And so from all walks of life, Jerome, people have called, they came, and you can tell they were genuinely concerned and loved the things I was trying to do for them. And so that is what mattered to me. I wasn't looking for anything in return. I want to see a better life for others.
I want to talk about some time in office when you were criticized for, some say, praying too much.
Yes.
When you were in government
Absolutely.
and in parliament.
Yes.
Do you think that people respect that in you? The fact that you did not shy away from your faith and from Christianity despite the critics?
Well, you know, Jerome, if you don't remember who brought you here, then you do have a problem, because God is the one that promotes and he demotes. But I know that I was criticized even to the point where the cartoon was made with my going to Parliament with my Bible under my arm and said, she's coming to preach now. She's coming to preach now. But I just thank God for it, because if I'm allowed to preach from that high office, then I know that I'm reaching the people to give them hope from that office. And so I didn't shy away, because I know who brought this Bahamas from the bottom of the Caribbean to the very top. It was God, because of our faithfulness to him. And so I was not thinking about man at all, because I know that there were days, and I said this before, Jerome, when the Haitian sloops used to come here, and they would come to sell their fruits, and they would throw the rotten mangoes in the water. I was one of the little ones out on the docks, pulling those mangoes out of the sea for a meal, Today, God has raised us from the bottom of the Caribbean to the very top. I cannot forget God. I must give him thanks. And so I will continue to do that no matter where I go, because I know that we have a God to serve, and we ought to say thank you and not be ashamed of it.
You have stood up in Parliament and taken some firm positions over the years, and even made some people uncomfortable sometimes.
Oh yes, I certainly did, because there were times when I feel people were being attacked and unnecessarily. And so I stood up and he said, let him that is without sin, you cast the first stone. And so I brought them to an awareness to know, yes, we've made mistakes in our lifetime. Another time it was when I was really severely criticized for doing so much in the prison. And to a point where they said, Mother Pratt is putting a hotel in the prison, you know. But I let all those things ride, because I know what my goals were. And I said in the Parliament, I said the difference between here and there is that we are free. They're incarcerated because they were caught. We just didn't get caught. So you think about our life, because we've made mistakes in our lifetime. That's the point I was making. Mm-hmm. We made mistakes, and we look back over and we say, did I do that? But for the grace of God, because I know I've done some silly things in my lifetime. And so that is why I often talked about, when I say those things, it's about giving hope to the people who made a mistake. That, listen, yes, that's water under the bridge. Let's start all over again.
You really, in many ways, are a believer in second chances.
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely. Because we were all given a second chance. If you look back over your life and see where you've come from, you begin given third, fourth, and fifth chance. You talk about second. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we don't want anyone to know that. We want people to believe in some cases that we've arrived and we never messed up. We have. And so I believe that a young brother or a young sister who made a mistake in life, that is water already under the bridge. And I often say to them, now pull up your bootstraps. Let's start all over again, because you can change. You can make a difference. And it has happened in many, many cases.
Looking back over your public life, if you can recall some of the things, whether they be big or small, that you are most proud of, some of the things that that you have the most fondest memories of doing or things happening, and you said, you know what, this is something that makes me really proud, or I will always remember this moment?
Well, I think it has to do with the recruiting of students, Bahamian students. Many who came from poor families that didn't have anything but a brain, brilliance. They were smart kids. Nobody saw them, but I saw them. And I was willing to give them a chance. They are now citizens in this country who are business persons, who are contributing in a significant way to this Bahamas. That is my proudest moment, when I can see, because I know the life story, and I can see that they're so happy with what they're doing, but they're also building our nation, Jerome, building our nation. And so if we feed our people, and I say feed them, if you were to reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. That's why we're alive, you know. We're not alive for us. We're alive for somebody else who needs us. They need us, Jerome. And so we have to come out of this cocoon and realize that somebody out there needs you.
As you remember those highlights and the people that you have touched, what would you say were some of the more difficult times that you've come through?
I think to a point where some of them have done so well, but yet in the end they messed up. And so that is something difficult for me, because I know them to be a different person. And so I often think about that, but I also still try to encourage them, because it's still water under the bridge, it's gone. And so you wonder sometimes, what can I say to them? Because I tried everything else and they didn't get it right. And so I think those are the things that saddens me, because I know we all at one time in our life has made mistakes.
Over the past moment with the Governor General, we've uncovered the intricacies of her life leadership philosophy and the legacies they are crafting for generations to come. And when we come back, how a recent health scare moved her into introspection. She talks about the people she'll miss, particularly those that weren't able to see her gain this great achievement. Her family life takes center stage, and what she hopes her legacy will be when the story of Cynthia Pratt is finally written. Over the last hour, Her Excellency Cynthia Pratt has opened up about her life, candidly sharing with us her journey to becoming the notable stateswoman she is today. A mother, a leader, and a treasured political symbol of hope and inspiration for many. We talked about a recent battle with COVID-19 that put her in introspection about her life's journey and how we've come a long way in the fight for women. Your Excellency, I know that you were ill at one point during the pandemic, having contracted COVID-19. Were there times you thought in your illness, this is it?
Well, yes, based on what people were saying. You know, you had more fear because of what people were saying.
Yeah.
More so than I felt in my body. You know, I didn't realize it was COVID until I did have a sore throat and the minor things, but I've had that before.
Mm-hmm.
And when my children noticed that something wasn't right, they called Linwood Brown, Dr. Linwood Brown. He went to college with us. He was at Shaw. university, and a very good friend of my children. And he came right away, and he, of course, diagnosed me with having COVID. And so they wanted to admit me because they said it would be difficult to have nurses coming in and out. And so I was admitted at that time. And certainly I want to thank Dr. Barnaby, who did a tremendous job with me, and some of the other doctors who came to my aid. But yes, I was a little worried at one time, and because I didn't know what to expect. And of course, there were so many other people who were contracting COVID at that time and who had passed on. And so I thank God for the time that I was there and the people who came to my aid.
Mm-hmm. You've had many political colleagues, family, friends, supporters, well-wishers that have seen you on this journey. I wonder who are some of the people that you will miss, and who will be missed during this period, and who you wish could be here for this honor.
Well, the first person would be my husband. And as you know, Jerome, he was a man who loved his family and he loved his country. And so if he was here now, because he often prophesied some things to me that I thought was off your rockers. And he would say, one day he said to me, he said, Cynthia, your story, your life story, no other Bahamian in this country has your life story. And he said, your story has outgrown the Bahamas. This is before he died. He said, this will go around the world. And today, Jerome, I have people coming in from China for my swearing in because they're writing my life story. I have them coming in from Texas, from New York, and also from Atlanta. They're all coming. They're going to arrive next week. And they're all interested in my life story. And so everything is now unfolding as to what my husband said. And then he said to me, he said, one of these days you're going to leave this country. I said, no, don't stop talking nonsense. I don't want to hear it. Because these are the last thing on me, on my mind, not a day like it. But he saw some things that it just came into fruition now, because you're able to see, Daddy said that, but you couldn't see it at that time. You see. So he's one of those persons I wish was here to actually see it. There is another lady who called me around 6 a.m. one morning. And she said to me, she's a woman of God, she's a preacher. She said she had to call me. She had to search to get my number. She didn't even have my number. And she said, when she got me, she said, God gave her a message to give me. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, God says, I have seen your labor of love these many years, and I'm going to bless you. And I want you to enjoy every moment of it. And she hung up the phone. Not another word. And now I'm seeing it just unfold before my very eyes. And so I'm saying, people have come and said things that I know was true because it happened. And so some of the neighbors in the Grove where I grew up and where I live, not just grew up, but my children grew up, they are people who were supportive. Your mama, Andrea, if she was here today, she would be celebrating. You see, my mother-in-law, of course, who was very supportive of me, she would have been celebrating. And so these people I'm thinking about, and I often think about them now.
How, throughout your public life, you have managed and been able to maintain that good relationship with your family, your children, your grandchildren. What has been, and I'm often curious because I think that's the part that people really don't see all the time.
Yes.
What has been really the support? What kind of support have you gotten from your children and grandchildren through all of this when mommy and Grammy is always out there doing something for someone else?
Yes. Well, Jerome, first of all, the decision was made between my husband and I and the children that I would enter politics. That's the first thing they knew because they were a part of it. The second thing is that my children grew up at a time when we had a drug problem in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I have sons. So I was very, we were anxious about where they are, where you've been, who you was with, and all that kind of thing. You see, one daughter, we weren't that concerned about the daughter as we were the sons. And so my husband was a man who policed his children. If they went anywhere after that, he was there. And he would always want to be around them because they were playing sports. And if they were playing, he's going to be there. Of course, the daughter was very close to her father. And even when I went to college, he was there trying to braid her little hair and thing. I could imagine what she looked like. but
She can kill you for that.
Yes. And so I think the relationship between us was one that was outstanding. I was a parent, Jerome. I ruled with the iron fist, as you know.
I know.
And I call a spade, and I believe in discipline. And so my children knew that if they were given chores, they'd better do it, because I must speak once. And so they knew that. My husband also would say, well, your mommy soon get home, so you better do this or that. And so they had a little fear in them, but they know that I wasn't abusive. But it's that
Excellency, that wasn't a little fear. Your sons were my college roommates. We lived together. And whenever, I didn't even have to know you were coming. They didn't have to tell me you were coming. I knew you when you were coming to town because things were different in the house.
Yeah.
Whatever was not happening before started to happen.
Yeah.
And you would only come through and check on everybody, but we'd all be at attention because that was the level of respect and fear that they had and concern.
Well, you see, Julian, the last boy, I can recall that I kept calling the campus, and every time I called, he'd just laugh. And I said, Joe, something is wrong here. And he said, no, they probably, I said, no, every time. He never returns the call. So I said to my husband, I'm going to Raleigh tomorrow. He said, you're going to Raleigh? I said, where Julie turned around and saw me standing. I took the flight the next day. When I got there, they told me that Julian was working. I said, where? So they told me we were down to Crabtree. I said, all right, I went there. And when I got there, this little lady came and she said, can I help you? I said, yes, ma'am, I'm looking for Julian Pratt, please. So she said, Julian, she got on the speaker, called him. When Julian came out and he saw me standing there, he thought he had seen a ghost. So I said to him, go back in there, tell them thank you for the job, but today is Friday. Monday morning, you'll be on the plane going with me back to Nassau. I brought him back to Nassau. Joe said, Cynthia, you went for, I said, until he understands, then he'll go back. And it's not responsible, he will stay here. And he never forgot that. I brought him back to Nassau.
This is a college-aged young man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But I wanted to teach him that he must be responsible. And I was concerned whether he was doing something untoward that we didn't know, and that's why he kept avoiding us. I was not going to stand for it. So I could be tough as nails
Oh, I know.
sometimes.
I am well aware.
Yes.
You are the third woman to hold this post as Governor General of the Bahamas. What does this say, and what does this honor say for the progress of women in our nation?
But certainly, I believe that women are well respected in our country. That's the first thing. I want to thank the leaders, particularly the Prime Minister, for what he has done, and former Prime Ministers who have actually given a woman a chance to lead. Because we were given that chance, we have given hope to all of our women, the young ones, the older ones, that they too have an opportunity to advance no matter what it is. And so I think the fact that we're able to operate in that position, produce in that position, I think that helped to strengthen their belief in us as females, because we made a difference and we continue to make a difference in this country. And women today are in top leadership roles, and really not only in the Bahamas, but all around the world. And so I'm thankful to my prime ministers, those who really continue to encourage me, because during the time when I sat in the chair, I had many men on the opposite side who would call me and encourage me. And so I think that today they really want me to do well. They want me to do well. And they believe that I can do it because I have proven that I have strength. I can stand firm and stand firm in my beliefs. And so I'm leading a people, I must lead all of the people.
Sure. Every Governor General has a style or something that they bring to the title. What are some of the accomplishments or some of the goals that you've set for yourself in this role?
Well, Jerome, I don't want to go into it at this point, but there are some things that I really want to see done. And afterwards, I'll come back to you and we can discuss those. Mm-hmm. Yes.
What does your appointment mean, you think, for the many women out there who are now in the position that you found yourself in many years ago? Mm-hmm. What does this mean for them?
I think it means hope. I think they feel as though I have an opportunity too. There is one day that it can happen for me. I believe that the circumstances they might be in right now, they'll compare those circumstances with that of mine. And to see that if she came through this, certainly I can champion this cause through whatever challenges I face. And so I'm always delighted to talk to women like that, particularly in our schools today, where you would find our young girls and our young mothers who believe there is no hope for them, letting them know that if it's for me, it can be for you as well.
You think our young people have lost hope in some instances about their futures and what is possible?
I think so. I think so, Jerome, because it saddens me sometimes when I see the condition of our young ladies, dress code, the kind of environment they're living in, that which could be better. And also wanting them to know that they are mothers because they have children who are looking up to them. And I think we have lost our way in that regard, because sometimes the things that comes out of their mouths in the presence of the children,
Yep.
it saddens me. And so I'm hoping that we'd go back to what we call the family where it was all of us together caring for one another. We didn't have much, but we had love one for another. And I think love is missing in many cases, many cases. And so the children see us, Jerome. They see us. And if we can do what we are doing, whether it's good or bad, they say, well, I can do it too. Mm-hmm. It might be bad, but they don't say anything wrong with it because, we did it. And so I'm hoping that our young ladies today, some have left school early. There's hope they can go back. And I want them to know that they can go back to school. They can improve themselves. And so, but they must know that there's something waiting for them if they improve themselves. You see? So the hope that's there, you have to go and get it. Mm-hmm.
You have always been a proponent and an advocate for trying to reach young men as well. You've spoken about those, young women, but the young men as well, even in your time as Deputy Prime Minister and National Security Minister, you made it a point to do some things that were tangible to reach young men because you never gave up on them.
No, because I saw the other side of them. I saw what they didn't see. And it's because they've been told all along that they'll never amount to anything. They're dumb, they're stupid. I'll always remember, Jerome, when the principal was about to dismiss quite a few of them out of school, and she said their attendance was bad, their grades were bad, they had nothing going for them, so it's just a waste of time. And I said to her, can you allow me to have them just for a term? I said, and should they improve, we can keep them in school. She said, yes, ma'am, but she has to see changes. And then I took to work, because most of these young boys, I went where they lived to see the conditions they were coming from. Many of them were workers and packing boys nights in the food stores. So they were coming home at midnight, and they have to get to school for class. So sometimes they're sleeping in the classroom. And you'd think that they're under some kind of drugs or something, but they weren't. They had to help mama to pay the rent, to pay the bills. And so I started to pay particularly attention to them. And I would spend hours and hours at the school on Saturdays, have them meet me there. And I would look at the skill and the talent each child had. Some were good artists. And so I had them painting the walls of the school. And the slogan that's still on the wall at CC, Cobra Pride is still alive. That's the slogan I brought up. I wanted them to know, okay, this is not acceptable now, but we could make it better. It's up to us. And they started to believe in themselves, Jerome. And those boys came from a 0 something average to some got a 3 point,
Wow.
Some got a 2.8, but it tells they had the ability.
It was always there.
It was always there.
Have you had an opportunity to visit Government House? We know that they've done some renovations there. Have you had an opportunity to go and visit and see what is happening there or what has happened?
Yes, I had an opportunity. Certainly I was impressed by what I saw, but they were hosting another function there, and so we used that time to actually do a tour. And the staff, of course, is an outstanding staff, and people that I know I can work with. Of course, Mr. Reed and Miss Horton, and Jack Thompson. And during the time that I was assisting, every time Gigi went out of town,
Right.
I had an opportunity to learn a little bit more.
Her Excellency's ascension to high office is perhaps seen by many as the next step in a natural progression of her incredible political career, a nod to her legacy as a Renaissance woman who, by all accounts, beat the odds, breaking political glass ceilings now wide open for the many other women who stand on her shoulders. But what will her legacy in this new role be? She gave us this insight. Looking back, or looking at your term, what would you consider to be a successful legacy of a governor general? Once you have an opportunity to look back, what would you consider to be a successful legacy for you?
I think bringing change to the attitude of our people, and wanting to know that it's better than it was yesterday, because you want results. And getting results, you have to see what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the things that I focus on, people.
When the story of Cynthia Mother Pratt is written, or the stories, what do you want people to remember most? What do you want those stories to say about you that's memorable?
There once was a woman who lived in the heart of the inner city, who were concerned about her nation, a woman who walked the streets, the highways and the byways, trying to search out for youngsters who were skipping school I hadn't seen, showing them, not telling them, but showing them that I care. Those who didn't have all the necessities, that I was able to go out and get those necessities for them without anyone knowing. But knowing that if she comes around now, she would give but not take. And so that woman is a woman that had a husband and children, a family, but yet took in other people's children and reared them, even among mine, with limited resources. But that woman never paid attention to the resources because I had very little. But what was important is that it was helping to renew lives. Those children were growing up to be adults, and that woman only wanted them to be successful because I won't be around all my days.
Well, I do want to say that in the time that you are here, you have made a tremendous impact on this country and on the people of the Bahamas, myself included. I've said it many times. I am where I am today because of you and your input into my life. And so I thank you.
Proud of you.
Protocol dictates that I call you Excellency, but you will always be Mother Pratt
Right.
to me and to thousands out there. And so we just want to say how proud we are, and we wish you all the best in this new role. I know that you will do great things. We will be certainly watching and supporting however we can and doing what we can. The people of the Bahamas owe you a great deal, and we thank you for all that you have done. God bless you in this new role, and we look forward to all the wonderful things that you will bring to Government House.
Thank you so much, Jerome, and I want you to know that every time I see you on television, I become proud as a peacock because I know from whence you've come, and you've always made a difference, even as a young boy. And so continue doing what you're doing, knowing that the Bahamian people do appreciate you.
Our conversation with the Governor General over the past hour illuminated not only her remarkable journey, but her insights into leadership, governance, and the path toward a brighter future. We've delved into her aspirations and the profound impact they've had on our nation. From her early years, marked by dedication and a commitment to public service, to her current role as a unifying figurehead we've witnessed the evolution of a leader driven by the desire to serve and uplift her people. As we bid farewell to this captivating conversation and welcome the next chapter for our head of state, it is perhaps now more abundantly clear that the Governor General's vision extends far beyond the borders of our country, as we've learned what shapes her perspective on global challenges, diplomacy, and collaboration. And more than that, underscoring her connection to the people as we move forward together. This has been RTV Presents. Until next time, I'm Jerome Sawyer.